I'm just going to cover a couple of quick OAB history perspectives for you all, and then move over to Gabe, who's going to attempt to differentiate a little bit uh, between the technology that Aaron was talking about and the approach that we're trying to pursue in a pilot network that we have going in the Fenway and Mission Hill areas of Boston right now. All right, so again, we think now more than ever is the right time for this in our area. Times are pretty tough. We could argue very easily in a lot of our neighborhoods, and it's a great time to be able to try to pass along free or ultra low cost internet access to our neighborhoods. Um, we studied this a while ago. I think this is left over to from some of the mayor's task force initiatives, but the uh, broadband adoption being traditionally low, and the question line is not necessarily that it's too expensive. It's often that it's not necessarily relevant to people's day-to-day lives, and this is really important for OAB as we think about our business plan with, the notion of stimulus money in front of us. About, we're hearing a lot of things about rural, unserved communities and such, but I think there's a strong case to be made that there's tremendous and underserved areas in the urban environments where there are dramatic amounts of people that need to learn a little bit more about how internet might be able to help them in their daily lives. I just skipped over the second part of that. So anyway, some of this to most of you guys are all pros of this. You know that we're traditionally behind the eight ball a little bit in terms of our own broadband penetration. And we in studying some of our areas in Mission, Maine, where we're working, it's pretty much one provider in that housing development. And if you can't afford or can't take that one provider, you really don't have a lot of options. So we really feel like we can present something in a community like that can be of tremendous appeal to folks in terms of choice. But choice and cost is not everything, and you'll see as I talk for a little bit how we're trying to take our business approach to be a little bit more oriented, trying to bring up the adoption rate any way that we possibly can. And really, this isn't a focal point of the ISPs, as you've pointed out, and we actually do think that they could become good partners over time with us in terms of seeing a new class of user at the entry level point that could be brought up to all sorts of levels of connectivity. And I've often said that OAB doesn't provide HBO Gold, so there's lots of things that we don't do. There's just tremendous differentiation. So we think the creation of new businesses is a tremendous idea on an open network, where you have access to the nodes. And Robin's smiling because this is something that was all over the mayor's task force agenda. We want to be able to engage the community and create economic opportunity, but we also want to be able to create a system that new applications can be thought out, rolled out, and developed out that could benefit the community. And going back a step, Open Air Boston was a group that was set up as a nonprofit out of the mayor's task force to provide wireless broadband network for the city. Primarily goals were, excuse me, to bring broadband access and computer literacy to underserved neighborhoods, and to create a platform for innovation. And I won't read that for you. You can plainly read it yourselves. Where we are trying to differentiate ourselves in the communities is that there have been lots of programs that provide computers and labs and public computing infrastructure. There's a lot of computer programs that provide connectivity, and there's lots of training programs out there. But what we want to try to do is pull it all together, along with a heartfelt commitment to actually coming into the neighborhoods and understanding what is true and relevant and important in those communities that we serve. It's very different what Mission, Maine requires of us than what Fenway requires of us. Completely different application suite, completely different engagement. And we want to be very, very specific about trying to do the right things in the right communities and engage the right people in what we're calling a four-pillared strategy, that it really is the computers and the training and the connectivity and the community all coming together to pull together a solution. If we can pull all these things together, we think we're going to do a much better job at bringing up the adoption rate, because it's not just about cheap internet. It's about relevance and about education and about training. So we're taking an approach that is small and grassroots. community driven. We're calling them open zones, O zones. You'll hear that a few different ways. Open zone, I guess. We know that we can start very, very inexpensively with a fiber optic access point or even a low end line and pass along those connections down the road to the users through the mesh. It gives time to learn what the needs are of the community, time to educate leaders and engage the service providers who are already there on the ground providing essential services to these communities, and time to create the relevant and targeted training programs with and within the community groups. I should note a point over here that one of the advantages that Open Air Boston has in its relationship with the city is tremendous amount of assets. I was laughing at Aaron talking about the 10 buildings that they got at the beginning. And of course, the city has done a wonderful job to give us any rooftop that we require on the city, as well as some of the utility and traffic rights of way, and some fiber optic access points that and our first one is up and running at the Fenway Fire Alarm Communications Headquarters building, right in the Fenway. And that's the one that we're emanating out our Fenway and our Mission Hill network. These are tremendous assets in a tremendously advantaged position. And I think another thing that Aaron has mentioned, and Gabe may talk about this as well, is what they're saying to some of their users is, if you want a node, go build one. You provide the rooftop, right, Aaron? You provide the rooftop, you provide the node, you deal with your landlord, you have that argument. We love that, but we're in the middle of trying to provide our backbone structure node. We're taking a lot of the relationships with some of the private landlords and tenants. Very difficult things. So if you know a friendly rooftop landlord kind of scenario, we're all ears. This is a little bit of an eye chart. I can send this to you guys later. It's really just to show all the different groups and partnerships, community groups, private partnerships, and foundations that we're bringing together to try to make Open Air Boston work. Key thing for me is that we're going to follow the absolute needs that we hear from our partners in the community, and we're going to build a free network that is extensible by the end users. You want to build something on top of this network, build it, go at it. We want to pay for it by research grants. We want this to be a philanthropic outpost, but we also realize that some of the potential of business and research partnerships that might allow us to create new and interesting and innovative applications that will serve the needs of the city and the communities are really exciting for us. And we're really as eager and excited about the unintended consequences that might come out of a free and open network as we are any other aspects of it. We also think there's a huge opportunity for hyper-local sponsorships. That sounds like a whole lot of buzzwords, but I will just tell you that as a 501c3, I can't say advertising, but really, I'm talking about the ability to splash down at a user that's near, let's just say, a local pizza shop or a local coffee shop. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, you want a coffee fix. Your neighborhood coffee shop is the place you want to go. And we can provide we feel like there's an awful lot of local sponsorship of this network that can derive a lot of value. A lot of business can derive a lot of value from those kinds of location-based services. And I know when Aaron's talking about VoIP, I say absolutely. VoIP as well is a huge focus point of ours as well. All right, so Gabe's going to talk a little bit about the technology innovation, the differentiation between the open air approach and what you've heard from our good friend Aaron.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to start by making explicit some things that I think were implicit in both presentations, and that really is what's different between what Aaron's doing and his colleagues are doing in Europe, which is amazing, what cities like Philadelphia and San Francisco tried, Minneapolis tried in terms of trying to build citywide Wi-Fi networks, and what our new model is here in Boston. As you all know, cities like Minneapolis, like Philadelphia, they tried very large-scale, top-down approaches that functioned very much like an ISP, and they failed miserably. I think you probably know a good deal of the story. If you don't, there's an article that Sasha Meinrath wrote called The Philadelphia Story from the New America Foundation, which I'd encourage you to check out. Aaron's approach is about as opposed to that as you can get. It's very, very geek-centric, very, very bottom-up. You want a node, you go out and build it on your rooftop, and it's been absolutely wonderful. The success that it's achieved all over Europe, not in one city, but in a dozen cities, has been absolutely tremendous. This is something that's replicable. This is something that's financially sustainable, which, those big ISPs building, Earthlink, they were not financially sustainable. Aaron is. Amazing. The one thing, what we really see Aaron as being almost